This story happened when I was 7 years old and was on the road to Goose Creek, South Carolina, with my mom. This trip was for our family to gather at my great-grandparents' house and celebrate Thanksgiving together. My dad was going to join us a few days later because of work. It was just my mom, me, and our luggage in the car. I was sitting in the back, engrossed in my iPad playing Minecraft, occasionally counting my collection of Beanie Boo's stuffed animals that filled my backpack. After a few hours in the car, I started getting restless because my legs were numb and I really needed to use the restroom. Mom glanced in the rearview mirror and asked if I was hungry. I nodded furiously. That question meant I would get to buy snacks, the kind Mom rarely allowed. I was excited when the car turned into the parking lot of a Quick Trip gas station. I jumped out of the car as soon as Mom turned off the engine. The cold air made me shiver, and my need to use the restroom became more urgent. After using the restroom, we walked along the aisles. I picked one of everything I liked and then headed to the checkout line. Finally, it was our turn. I remember Mom was halfway through paying when the door chime went off. I turned around and saw a man walk in. He was wearing dark clothes with his hood pulled up and dark sunglasses on. That made me stare at him intently. Mom also looked over and the man smiled in a very friendly way. I saw Mom smile and nod back out of politeness. But then, the man suddenly cut in front of us. He lightly tapped the counter and said, "Give me all your money." I saw the cashier frown and laugh, confused. A few silent seconds passed, and then the atmosphere suddenly got tense when the man slammed his hand down on the counter a second time with great force, making a loud noise that startled both me and Mom. The terrifying thing happened in the very next second. He pulled a black gun out of his jacket pocket and pointed it right at the cashier's face. "I'm not joking. Open the safe now." All my attention focused on the gun in his hand. The cashier put his hands up, his face completely pale. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Suddenly, the bag of snacks in Mom's hand dropped to the floor. A can of Sprite rolled away with a loud hiss. I looked after it, intending to quickly run over and pick it up before all the soda leaked out. But Mom suddenly grabbed my wrist, pulling me hard toward the exit door. My brain couldn't process what was happening. I looked at Mom, looked at my favorite can of Sprite, and then looked at the man holding the gun. Mom's pull was stronger. My feet started moving, but my head was still turned back, looking. Mom pulled me running into the parking lot, pushed me into the back seat, and immediately locked the door. Then she jumped into the driver's seat. "Mom, my snacks. You already paid for them. You need to be absolutely silent. Silent." The car quickly started up and sped out of the parking lot at a speed I had never seen Mom drive before. I felt very distressed then. First, I regretted losing my favorite snacks, and then I wondered what was going on. I looked back toward the store and saw the man holding the gun to the cashier's head. He looked very angry, yelling something loudly, but we were too far away to hear. Mom drove in silence for a few minutes, then pulled out her phone and called the police. Her voice was shaking as she recounted what had just happened. When she hung up, Mom sighed and kept driving. I didn't say anything either. We sat in silence for the rest of the drive to my great-grandparents' house. After we finished bringing the luggage inside, Mom immediately turned on the TV to check the news. The image of the Quick Trip gas station appeared on the screen. The news anchor spoke in a serious voice, saying that an armed robbery had occurred. The police arrived at the scene about 10 minutes after receiving the call, but it was too late. The cashier was dead from a single gunshot to the head. The perpetrator had escaped with less than $300. Mom went still, then started to cry. My great-grandmother hugged Mom to comfort her, and my great-grandfather came over to me. My great-grandfather asked if I was hurt or overly scared. I shook my head. Truthfully, I didn't fully understand everything back then. I only remembered the bag of snacks that we left behind. More than 10 years have passed, but every time I go into a gas station, I feel anxious. I am wary of everyone, especially those who act friendly. Now I understand that everything Mom did back then was to try and protect me. In that moment of terror, Mom had only one goal: to pull me out of danger before I could witness the worst thing. We might even have become his next targets. That day, I was just a child who regretted leaving behind a bag of snacks. But what I didn't know was that I was only seconds away from death, and my mom had decisively and calmly saved me from it. I remember that night clearly, like it happened just yesterday, even though a week has passed. The trembling feeling when I think back still makes me grip the steering wheel tight whenever I drive at night. It was a road trip from Atlanta up to Wilmington, just me and Milo, my pit bull mix. It was around 10 p.m. and the night was spitting a cold drizzle. I needed to stop for gas and let Milo take a break because we had been in the car for a few hours. My GPS directed me to a gas station that was tucked away off the main road. Not a single person was around. There was no sound at all except for the rain hitting the canopy and the noises Milo made. I opened the car door and the cold draft rushed in, making me shiver. I pulled my wool coat up higher. It was the only warm jacket I had with me. Milo jumped out, pulling tight on his leash, but he waited patiently while I pumped the gas. Suddenly, I noticed someone standing next to the pump. The person walked closer. It was a tall, thin man who was dressed very lightly for the weather. He stood silently, watching me. I didn't pay much attention and focused on finishing the gas. He spoke up right as I finished paying at the pump. "Excuse me for bothering you. I'm homeless. I can't help you. I'm sorry." I said that and immediately turned to take Milo for his break. I thought he had left after I turned him down, but he hadn't. When I walked back with Milo, I jumped. He was still there, standing closer to my car than before. "Please, I'm really starving." His eyes were fixed on me and didn't move. Looking at the man who was soaking wet and visibly shaking, a feeling of guilt started to creep into my mind. "I don't have any food in here, but I can give you some cash to buy something in the convenience store." He stared at me, seeming unsatisfied. His gaze slowly moved down, and then he suddenly pointed straight at me and spoke. "That jacket looks warm. I really need it." My heart pounded. His voice was no longer pleading, it was demanding. I took a step back, and Milo next to me started to tense up. "You can't have this jacket. I can only help you with some cash." When I refused, his attitude changed instantly. Then he moved toward me, so fast that I didn't have time to react. His hand grabbed my shoulder tightly. I cried out, trying to pull back, but he held on firm. His other hand grabbed my other shoulder, tightening his grip. I could feel him starting to pull me away. Panicked, I screamed, "Let go of me right now!" And right then, Milo had a strong reaction. He started growling fiercely and continuously, his fur bristling, his fangs showing. The man flinched, and his grip loosened a little. I used that moment to swing my shoulder hard to break free from him. I backed away and loudly threatened that I would unleash Milo if he bothered me again. As soon as I finished speaking, Milo let out a louder growl and then barked very aggressively. He was ready to lunge at any second. The man looked at Milo, then back at me. I could clearly see his frustration as he let go. He backed up, muttering something under his breath. I didn't hesitate. I pulled Milo back, opened the car door, pushed Milo in, then jumped in myself and drove away as fast as I could. My hands were shaking so badly that it took me a few seconds to start the engine. I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw the man still standing there watching me. But the very next second, he turned away, walking quickly toward a black SUV parked in the dark corner of the station. I hadn't even noticed it was there before. He opened the door and climbed into the passenger seat. I slammed the gas pedal, speeding out of the station faster than I'd ever driven before. Milo was barking frantically in the back seat, but I didn't stop until the lights of the gas station completely vanished in my mirror. My hands were shaking uncontrollably on the wheel, and tears streamed down my face. I realized it. He wasn't homeless. He was faking it. He definitely had an accomplice. I called the police to report the incident. I gave them the exact address of the gas station, along with the details of the black SUV. I hadn't seen the license plate. I also couldn't recall any distinctive features of the homeless man. The police said they would investigate, but to this day, I haven't received any specific information about the man. Since that night, I never stop at isolated gas stations. I avoid going out after dark, and if I absolutely have to, I always take Milo with me. That loyal friend is the reason I survived. But most of all, I learned one lesson. Kindness without caution can become a deadly vulnerability.
Alden is a perfect guy with all the qualities that any woman would want in a partner. Especially at the age of 35, Alden's masculinity and maturity attract a lot of admirers. Alden is in a relationship with Erica, a girl who has everything in perfect proportion. On March 13th, will you be mine? Your heart will be mine. That is the sweet proposal Alden made to Erica. Unlike other couples, Alden and Erica have been getting to know each other for 11 months. Alden didn't have to persistently court the beautiful woman to win her over. Erica also did not pose any challenges or difficulties. In fact, she had fallen for Alden from the very beginning. Their relationship just needs one more formal proposal to become a perfect couple. Even though Alden has cared for and pampered Erica to the utmost for the past 11 months, Erica has also continuously given Alden the green light, showing her affection for him. But their relationship remains ambiguous. Erica is determined not to propose first. According to her viewpoint, it is the man's responsibility to take the initiative. Erica takes care of her appearance, participates in classes on sports, cooking, art, and more. She continually improves herself, setting the goal to always be perfect and attractive. There are also many suitors around Erica, but she only has eyes for Alden. As for Alden, there are times when he shows indifference in the relationship. His words are very sweet and loving, but they are also full of underlying meaning and a hint of teasing. But Erica doesn't realize this. To her, Alden occupies her entire heart and mind. Alden has not given Erica any confirmation, which leaves her constantly worried. Erica is very afraid of losing Alden. It's not hard to see that the women around him have feelings for him. Moreover, their relationship is not official and clear, so Erica cannot assert her claim. A princess is always associated with images of beauty and perfection, but it's not only princesses. There are also witches with an enchanting, deadly allure. Erica has a blend of both. She once planned and staged a car accident. The victim was a young and beautiful girl, and as a result, she was left paralyzed from the waist down just for standing too close to Alden at a party. Not stopping there, Erica did not hesitate to gift a few scars on the arms, legs, and even the face to the girls who intended to flirt with Alden. One rival, who is extremely determined, declared that she would confront Erica and pursue Alden to the end. She is Daria, who possesses everything Erica has and more, namely the allure of youth and beauty. But just a week later, Daria vanished without a trace. The police searched for Daria for 6 months, and the clothes they found in the forest contained Daria's DNA. But it still has not been determined whether she is alive or not. Are you satisfied with what you've done? Alden's unexpected question left Erica stunned for a few seconds. Of course, I'm willing to do anything for you. Alden knows something. He just smiled and nodded. The moment Erica had been waiting for arrived. Alden proposed right in the car when he brought Erica home. Of course, she agreed without a second thought. But why March 13th? Why did you ask me to be your girlfriend on March 13th instead of today? That day is very special to me, and I want you to be a part of that specialness too. Alden's words melted Erica's heart. She loved Alden very much. On March 13th, Alden invited Erica to his home for dinner. Alden even prepared a beautiful dress for Erica to wear that day. At exactly 7 p.m., Erica arrived at Alden's house. As she entered, Erica heard music and saw romantic candlelight, which made her heart race. But she was very surprised by the happy birthday message decorated on the wall. Alden stepped forward, holding a birthday cake with a lit candle in the shape of the number 36 on top. You didn't tell me your exact birthday. You are the most wonderful gift. Will your heart be mine? Erica happily nodded and embraced Alden. After many days of waiting, hoping, and worrying, Erica became Alden's girlfriend. Erica can confidently say that they are a couple. They had dinner together. Erica continuously talked about their future plans and dreams with immense enthusiasm. Alden simply smiled lightly and did not respond. Eat quickly, because you're about to leave soon. Erica looked at Alden in confusion, not understanding what he meant. I will take you to a very wonderful place. Let's cut the cake first. Alden placed the cake in front of Erica. He went around to the back of Erica's chair, leaned in close to her ear, and whispered, Are you ready? Erica had no time to react. A knife was plunged straight into her left chest. An hour later, Alden stepped out of the house with a satisfied expression, his mouth still smeared with blood. Alden drove away with the body of a woman without a heart in the trunk of the car. The cycle of the next 11 months continued as Alden searched for another heart, the 13th heart.
That awful night went down 13 years ago when I was 15. My family had a log cabin tucked away among tall pine trees, not too far from the Blue Mountains. It was the place we always ran off to every summer to get away from the crazy heat in the city. For a kid like me, the woods and the lakes felt like a whole world full of endless adventures. That summer, my parents had to take my little sister to the doctor because she kept having this stubborn high fever. They trusted me to stay at the cabin by myself, promising they'd be back before sunset. I had Zoe, my loyal Labrador retriever, and a satellite phone in case I needed to call for help. For a 15-year-old, getting to be home alone felt like a badge of honor. I figured I'd make the most of it and go fishing, so I grabbed my dad's old fishing rod and hollered for Zoe to come with me. The air was crisp and cool. Birds singing all through the forest made it feel like the trees had their own band. I picked my usual fishing spot, this little rock sticking out into the lake, where you could see the whole stretch of that blue water. Zoe plopped down next to me, her snout resting on her front paws, her eyes keeping a sharp lookout. I cast my line into the water and waited. Time dragged on in a slow, peaceful way. A little fish nibbled on the hook. I yanked it up, but it slipped off, leaving me sitting there feeling pretty bummed out. About an hour drifted by, and that's when I started to feel something shift. At first, it was just this quick, creepy feeling, like someone brushed the back of my neck with an icy finger. Zoe picked up on it too. She slowly got to her feet, the fur on the back of her neck standing straight up, and her ears perked up like she was on high alert. I followed Zoe's stare over to the opposite side of the lake. At first, all I saw were a bunch of tall oaks and pines. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught some movement. There was a figure standing dead still between two trees, tucked away in the shadows. My heart was pounding like crazy in my chest, I just knew it. But from that far away, I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. All I knew was, whoever it was, they were staring right at us. Zoe started to growl low in her throat like a warning. I laid my hand on her neck, trying to calm her down, but my eyes never left that weird figure. The figure started moving, slow and steady along the shoreline, never taking their eyes off of us. They were heading toward the old dam, where the shore got real narrow and you could cross over to our side in just a few minutes. Fear started bubbling up inside me, and for a second, all I could think about were the ghost stories the locals used to tell. Stories about some child predator who'd been lurking around these parts for years, with a bunch of missing kids that were never found. Maybe it was just stories to freak people out, but right then, facing that creepy figure, every one of those stories felt way too real. The figure kept moving, and now I could see a little clearer. It was a tall man. His walk was all jerky and weird, like something wasn't right. Zoe growled louder, and I knew right then we had to get out of there. With my hands shaking, I reeled the line in as fast as I could, not even bothering to pack up the rod. I grabbed Zoe's collar with my other hand and started backing away from the lake, keeping my eyes glued to that creepy guy. He had stopped, just stood there like a freaking statue at the edge of the trees, only a few dozen meters from the dam. Then, real slow, he lifted his head and locked eyes with me. That's when I dropped the fishing rod and bolted, with Zoe tearing off right beside me. We didn't even try to stick to the trail, just tore straight through the woods, crashing through bushes and stumbling over tree roots sticking out of the ground. I didn't dare look back, too scared he was already crossing the dam and coming after us. Every time a branch snapped behind me, it felt like my heart was going to blow right out of my chest. I tripped over a root and scraped my knee, but I didn't even slow down. Fear just kept me flying. When the cabin finally came into sight, I sprinted through the front door and slammed it shut, locking it tight. I yanked down all the curtains, turning the place into my own little fortress. Zoe kept pacing back and forth in the living room, stopping every once in a while to glare out the window. Her ears perked up and this low growl rumbling from her throat. I thought about Dad's shotgun locked up in the bedroom closet. Dad had shown me how to use it, always hammering it into my head that it wasn't a toy. I knew exactly where he kept the key, tucked away in his fishing tackle box. With hands still shaking, I opened up the locker, grabbed the shotgun, and checked it. It was loaded. I wasn't planning on using it, just keeping it around for a worst-case thing. The next few hours crawled by with me wound up tight as a spring. I sat there in the living room, my back pressed against the wall, staring out the window with the shotgun right next to me. Zoe was curled up close, sometimes getting up to check outside, but she wasn't growling anymore. Maybe whatever it was had moved on, or maybe the guy hadn't crossed the lake to get anywhere near the cabin. I thought about calling my parents on the satellite phone, but then I changed my mind. My sister was burning up with a fever. They had enough to deal with without me adding more stress. And maybe it was all just in my head. Maybe the guy was just some random hiker, and I'd freak everyone out over nothing. The sun started dipping behind the mountains, and little by little, darkness swallowed up the cabin. When the headlights from our car finally lit up the driveway, I swear I almost cried right there. My parents walked in looking beat. My sister already passed out asleep in Mom's arms. They were kind of surprised to see me still awake, and even more surprised when they spotted the shotgun sitting next to me. I told them everything, about the creepy guy by the lake, about feeling like someone was watching us, about the straight-up terror that had me frozen for hours. My dad listened real carefully, and little by little, the tired look on his face got replaced by something a whole lot more serious. The next morning, Dad and a couple of neighbors hiked down along the shore to see if they could find any sign of the guy. They found these big boot prints sunk deep into the wet mud right where I said I saw him. The tracks led straight to the dam, then vanished into the thick woods on the other side, heading right for our cabin. 2 weeks later, the cops picked up some guy in a town not too far away. They thought he might be the one behind a bunch of cabin break-ins and even some attacks on kids around the area. At his house, the cops found this super creepy stash of little things he'd stolen from cabins around the lake. Necklaces, toys, even the backpack of a boy who went missing 2 years back. When the cops showed me a picture of him, I couldn't say for sure if it was the same guy I saw at the lake. But there's one thing I'll never forget. Those eyes, cold and calculating. In the years after that, we still went back to the cabin every summer, but it just wasn't the same anymore. I never wandered off by myself again, always stuck close to Dad or some other adult. The woods and lakes didn't feel like some magical adventure land anymore. Now they felt like the kind of place where danger could be hiding anywhere. My name's Robbie, and I'm based in Denver. Last month, I flew out to Portland for a client meeting. My company had me booked at some downtown hotel equals. But I ditched that and grabbed a house on an app in the Pearl District instead. Quieter, and I like having a kitchen. It was a Friday night and work wrapped up earlier than expected. I was bored, so I opened up Tinder and started swiping. That's when I came across Jen. She was 28, long brown hair, big bright smile. Local girl. Said she loved hiking. We matched right away. "Hey stranger, new around here?" That was the first message she sent, just a few minutes after we matched. 2 hours later, we were grabbing dinner at Pok Pok on Division. She showed up in casual clothes, totally chill vibe. What hit me was, she looked exactly like her profile pic. We clicked right away. She told me about bartending gigs, weekend hikes in the gorge. I couldn't get enough of her laugh. Dinner stretched to 3 hours. After that, we hit up a bar, then another one. Jen knew all the cool spots in town. She asked about Denver, my job, and why I was still single. Around midnight, she leaned in and suggested that we head back to my place, saying it might be nice to have a little privacy. I grinned. Called us a cab right then. In the car, she rested her head on my shoulder. Her perfume was subtle, but it hit me just right, got my heart racing a little. Once we got to the house, I poured us each a glass of whiskey. We sank into the couch, still chatting. After a bit, she set her glass on the table. "You mind if I step outside for a smoke?" she asked. Trying to quit, but you know. She gave this little shrug. "No worries," I said. "I'll be here." 5 minutes. She slipped out the door. I watched her go, smiling to myself. Would be kind of crazy if this was what I'd been looking for all along. I grabbed my phone, checked emails, scrolled through Instagram, the usual. Outside, a light drizzle started. 5 minutes ticked by. I got up, wandered into the kitchen to grab a glass of water. Then I heard something. From the back of the house, like someone prying open a window. I froze, metal scraping. Then soft footsteps. My heart was pounding like crazy. I peeked through the crack in the door. 2 figures climbing in through the window. 2 men. Black hoodies. Gloves. Total cliche. I froze. Robbers. I pulled out my phone, hands shaking. Tried to call 911. No signal. Shit. They moved toward the living room. I started looking around for an exit. Checked the living room. one of them said. He's got to be here somewhere. I stopped breathing for a second. Did they know I was here? Then it hit me. The laptop bag was still on the table. My wallet was in the jacket right next to it. For a split second, I thought about grabbing them and sneaking out. Too late. They were already in the middle of the room. Jackpot, one of them muttered. This guy's loaded. Wallet's full of cash. I told you. I froze. I told you? Who the hell told them? Then the front door swung open. The sound of heels on wood floors. Jen, you guys are early. Her voice, totally different now. Traffic was light. Is he still here? Somewhere, probably hiding. My eyes went wide. Wait, she was in on it? I barely had time to think. I heard footsteps coming my way. I spun around and bolted for the bedroom. Carefully, I cracked the window open and started to climb out. Check the bedroom, one of them shouted. No time. I slipped through the window. The rain had made everything slick. I lost my footing and slammed onto the ground with a loud thud. There! He's out here! I scrambled up and took off. Ran like hell. Made it to the main road, heart punching my ribs. I waved both arms like crazy when I spotted a cab. The driver pulled over, eyes wide. You okay? Police station, I panted. Please, urgent. I jumped in, yelling for him to go now. At the station, I gave them everything, names, what happened, what was taken. Then I waited. 2 hours later, a cop came back. The place was cleared out, he said. Looks like a break-in, but no one's there now. Laptop, gone. Wallet, gone. Watch, gone. Everything valuable, poof. We're looking into the dating app profile, the cop had said. But odds are, it's fake. I just nodded. Didn't have the energy to argue. Didn't sleep at all that night. Next morning, I canceled all my credit cards and filed an insurance claim. That trip ended on the worst damn note. 2 weeks after I got back to Denver, I was finally starting to forget, trying to move on, get back to normal. Then, one Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. I glanced out the window and saw a woman standing there, black suit, holding a briefcase. This is Sarah Chen, private investigator, she said, handing me her card. I need to talk to you. It's about what happened in Portland. I hesitated. Didn't the cops close that case? Not exactly. Mind if I come in? I paused, then stepped aside and let her in. Sarah sat down on the couch, popped open her briefcase, and pulled out a fat folder. Robbie, you're not the only one, she said, flipping it open. She spread out a few photos across the table. Different houses, different men, same expression, shocked, pissed, scared, police reports from multiple cities. Jennifer Martinez has scammed at least 12 men this year, she said flatly. Then she looked me dead in the eye. But here's the weird part. You're the only one who made it out. My heart skipped. What do you mean, made it out? Sarah flipped the page, tapping on a small line with her finger. The insurance company you used? They hired me to look into it. They thought it was odd. Your stuff was a lot more valuable than what other victims lost. And you bought a property insurance policy just 3 months before the trip. I felt my chest tighten. Wait, are you accusing me of something? I'm not accusing, she said calmly. I'm asking questions. She locked eyes with me. How'd you know exactly how to slip out that bedroom window so clean in the middle of a rainy night? Why'd you take out a policy worth way more than what you actually lost? The room went dead quiet. And most importantly, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper, the security cam on the corner caught you and Jen grabbing coffee Thursday afternoon. That's the day before you said you met her on Tinder. I didn't move, just sat there staring while the floor dropped out from under me. The perfect plan. Bring Jen in, stage a fake robbery, cash out the insurance, and wipe out my debt was unraveling right in front of me. So, you want to tell me what really happened, Robbie? I'm Jack, 28, a software engineer in Austin, Texas. Tonight I drank more than usual at the bar near work. I was driving home, my mind hazy from the alcohol. That was a serious mistake. My car swayed on the highway. I tried to focus on the middle lane, my stinging eyes trying to stay wide open. Suddenly, a red car zoomed out from the right lane. No turn signal, no warning. I slammed on the brakes, feeling the tires slide on the pavement. A few seconds later, the car spun sideways, its rear tires scraping against the concrete median with a piercing screech of metal. The loud noise made me a bit more alert. My heart pounded as I realized what was happening. I pulled over to the side of the road, my hands trembling, clutching the steering wheel. Cold sweat ran down my back. I needed to sober up before continuing. Looking around, I saw the neon sign of a Wendy's about 200 yards away. I quickly steered my car to the restaurant. The large parking lot was almost empty, with only an old brown car parked far off in the left corner. Its headlights were still on, but there was no one in the car. I parked near the entrance. The automatic glass doors of the restaurant opened with a soft hiss. The bright white lights inside the restaurant made me squint. The cold air from the air conditioning hit my face, making me a bit more awake. Behind the counter, a young girl stood. Her uniform shirt had dark brown dried stains on the shoulder and chest. Maybe ketchup. "Hi, what can I get for you?" "I'll have a beef burger and a medium soda. Anything else?" "We also have fresh hot cheese." I shook my head. She nodded, then turned her back towards the kitchen. I looked around the restaurant while waiting for my food. Besides me, there were 3 other customers sitting at separate tables. An old man in his 60s, wearing a black leather jacket, sat in the left corner. At a table near the window, a woman in a blue nurse's uniform sat looking out. In the middle of the restaurant, a young man in a team sports t-shirt sat in front of a tray of tacos. He kept scratching his left arm, leaving red marks. He scratched so hard, I saw blood seeping through his shirt. Something wasn't right with these people. All of them had grayish-blue skin, just like the employee. "Can you wait about 5 minutes? The meat's still grilling." The employee's voice, which I had just been thinking about, startled me. I nodded. "I'm going to the restroom for a bit. It's at the end of the hallway to your left." I thanked her and followed her directions. Pushing the door open, the stench immediately made me cover my nose. The toilet was overflowing with a thick, reddish-brown liquid. Toilet paper was scattered all over the floor, soggy and strangely colored. The mirror above the sink was cracked into many pieces, reflecting a distorted image of me. The faucet ran something rust-colored, with a strong metallic smell. I held my breath, quickly exiting, unable to bear it any longer. Reaching the hallway, I stopped, gasping for air. When I returned to the dining area, I froze midway. Something had changed. The restaurant was now full of people. Every table had customers, easily 20 to 30 people. Where did they all come from? I'd only been gone for 3 minutes, but the more I looked, the more frightened I became. These people weren't normal. Their skin was grayish blue, like spoiled meat. Some had open wounds bleeding. The man at table 3 was missing an eye. The woman sitting near me had a broken arm, bones sticking out. They were all eating intently. The sounds of chewing and swallowing echoed through the restaurant. "Sir Jack, your food's ready." I jumped. The employee had just called me by name, but I'd never told her my name. I walked to the counter on shaky legs. She handed me a red plastic tray. The burger was split open, the bun black, oozing a dark red liquid that smelled putrid. The soda cup held a thick black liquid with dead flies floating on top. "Thanks for visiting our store," she grinned, revealing blackened teeth. "You'll love working here." Working? I dropped the tray to the floor, food splattering everywhere. Immediately, I ran towards the exit, but it wouldn't open. I pushed hard, twisted the handle, kicked the glass door. But the door was like it was welded shut. "Jack, You can't go anywhere." I turned around. All the customers were standing up, looking at me. The old man from the corner table approached, and I clearly saw a large bullet hole in his forehead, brain matter smeared on his face. The nurse woman turned towards me, a rope tightly wrapped around her neck, the skin around the knot dark purple. "Welcome to the night shift," the young man in the team shirt said. He raised his hand. His left arm was just white bone from the elbow down. "You'll be serving customers just like us." I fell into extreme panic, turning back and continuously pounding on the door, screaming loudly, "No! I don't belong here! Let me go!" I ran to the window looking out at the parking lot. My car wasn't in its spot anymore. Instead, a car lay overturned. The front was crumpled as if it had just been in a crash, the windshield shattered, and through the broken driver's side window, I saw a dead body wearing a blue shirt and jeans, exactly like what I was wearing. Not just similar, it was me. I was dead. I hadn't been able to avoid the accident with the pickup truck. Now you get it, right? The employee moved closer, her feet not touching the ground. "We're all dead. Mr. Pete was shot in a store robbery. Linda ended it herself because of stress. Tommy died in a motorcycle accident. And now you join us." "I don't want to," I screamed, tears streaming down my face. "No one wants to. But this is where people who die in late-night accidents have to work. Forever." She handed me a red apron stained with red streaks. "Your shift starts now. Customers are waiting." I looked around. More people had appeared. All dead bodies. They looked at me with empty eyes. They were waiting for me to serve them. I screamed, thrashing, unable to accept the truth. Suddenly, I felt a massive headache. I clutched my head and collapsed. After opening my eyes, I found myself lying on the pavement next to my car, which was still intact. A police officer was leaning over me, shining a flashlight in my face. "Are you okay? We've seen you lying here for 15 minutes. Someone driving by called the police." I slowly sat up, my head throbbing. Looking around, I saw I was in the Wendy's parking lot. But the restaurant was completely dark. The sign read, "Closed." "Have you been drinking?" the officer asked, his gaze serious. I think I fell when I got out of the car. Maybe I passed out. Do you need an ambulance?" "No, I'm fine. Just a little dizzy. I'll have to take your license, and you'll get a summons for driving under the influence." I ran my hand through my hair, feeling ashamed and confused. The police called a taxi for me. While waiting, I couldn't stop looking towards the restaurant. Through the dark windows, I swore I saw a faint figure standing behind the counter. A blonde girl in a red uniform, as if waiting for the next shift. But when I looked closer, it was just the reflection of the streetlights on the glass. Maybe so. I work as a housekeeper at a well-known hotel downtown. Every day's the same. Check the list of rooms to clean, grab the cart, make sure all the supplies are there, and get to work. I've been doing this long enough that nothing really phases me anymore. Messy guests are no big deal. This morning, I unlocked a room on my list, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. Towels all over the floor, empty wine bottles covering the table, bed a total disaster. I pulled on my gloves and got to it, just like always. But when I went to change the sheets, something was off. The fabric wouldn't budge. I frowned, gave it another tug, and then bam, the sheet yanked free, and something came sliding out from under the bed. I froze. It was a girl, almost naked, covered in bruises. I had no idea if she was alive or dead, but my breath hitched, and my heart started slamming against my ribs. Before I could even process it, footsteps sounded outside the door. Hands shaking, I shoved the girl back under the bed and yanked the sheet into place. Right then, the door swung open. A man walked in, tall, dressed sharp. His suit fit like it was made for him, showing off his lean, polished look. His leather shoes gleamed, and the air filled with the scent of expensive cologne. His face was almost too perfect. He glanced at me and smiled. Morning. I couldn't answer. My throat was dry, my whole body ice cold. I dropped my gaze, hurried to gather my stuff, doing everything I could not to let the panic show. I needed to get out. Now. But just as I reached for the doorknob, his voice stopped me. Here's your tip. The $100 bill rested between his long fingers. I took it with shaky hands, just wanting to grab it and get the hell out of there. But before I could turn away, his voice came again, smooth, almost playful. Strange. You haven't changed the sheets. My heart stopped. I stammered something, nothing that made sense, mumbling about grabbing fresh sheets. Before I could move, he gestured toward the sofa. Isn't it right there? I froze. A neatly folded white sheet sat on the couch. I didn't remember putting it there. My chest tightened, breathing felt harder, like the air in the room had thickened. I had no choice. Slowly, I walked over, grabbed the sheet, hands shaking so bad I almost dropped it. Turning back to the bed, I kept my eyes anywhere but the floor, anywhere but under the bed, where I knew exactly what was hidden. I peeled off the old sheet. It felt heavier than usual, like something was still inside. But I didn't dare check. Just pulled the fresh sheet over, smoothed it out, and worked faster than I ever had in my life. When I was done, I turned back to the cart, pretending to fuss with the cleaning supplies. I could feel his eyes on me, watching, waiting. The way he looked at me made every nerve in my body tighten like a drawn bowstring. I thought I was finally in the clear. But no, his voice came again. You forgot this. I spun around. He was holding out another $100 bill. Same polite, charming smile. But this time, there was something else in it. Amusement. I couldn't refuse. Didn't dare. My fingers shook as I reached for the money. I turned away, ready to bolt, but then a light, casual voice behind me. Looks like you haven't cleaned the sofa yet. My throat closed up. I didn't want to turn back, didn't want to stay here another second, but I couldn't refuse, couldn't risk setting him off. This time, when I bent down toward the chair, I noticed a small red stain smeared across the upholstery. Is that? I grabbed a rag, moving slowly, trying to wipe it away. Then, his hand landed on my shoulder. No force, just a light touch. But the second his skin met mine, every vein in my body locked up, frozen. I shot to my feet, stumbling backward toward the door. He didn't let me get that far. What are you afraid of? The smile was gone now. Instead, his eyes studied me, like he was enjoying the way my fear curled around the edges of my face. I swung the glass cleaner in my hand and sprayed it straight into his eyes. He cursed, hands flying up instinctively to cover them. I didn't hesitate, slammed my foot straight into his groin. He doubled over, clutching himself, screaming in pain. I spun around, bolted for the door, hands shaking as I grabbed the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The moment the door swung open, I rushed out, screaming for help with all my remaining consciousness and strength. A receptionist heard my screams and rushed over. I told her to call the police immediately, pointing towards the horrifying room, and then passed out. Everything went black. When I came to, I was in a hospital bed, my head pounding. The doctor checked me over, and not long after, 2 police officers showed up with news about what happened. That man was Ethan Carter, a wanted serial killer with at least 5 murders in the city. My whole body went rigid. So the girl under the bed? One of the officers nodded. She was alive, drugged, unconscious. They got her to the hospital in time, and she was going to be okay. I let out a breath, but then another thought hit me. So what about him? The officer's voice dropped. Ethan Carter fought back, pulled a knife on us. We shot him on the spot. He's dead. I nodded weakly. It still felt like a bad dream, one I couldn't quite wrap my head around. But no matter what, I was alive, and I'd never forget the moment I came face to face with the devil himself.
I messed up big time with my daughter, thinking she was a monster. I was going around checking all the doors and windows. Made sure not even a fly could sneak in. Not just mine, but all the other houses too. The government has issued an order requiring everyone to remain indoors for at least the next 48 hours. The National Guard is being urgently deployed to control the monsters and stand by for rescue operations in high-risk areas. That was what the news on TV was saying. I hugged my 5-year-old daughter, feeling all confused and anxious, while she was excited about the news that she'd be off school tomorrow. Kids are so innocent and chill. I looked at her and thought out loud. Monsters with rapidly increasing reproduction rates have been reported. They possess a unique ability to transform and mimic anyone's voice, so the public is urged to remain vigilant and exercise extreme caution. God, what used to be just the wild imagination of talented screenwriters for classic movies is actually happening. I'd been taking care of my daughter on my own for almost 2 years since my wife left me for another guy. I pictured the future where I'd got a bunch of plans and projects lined up for me and my daughter. I'd been busting my butt to make sure my daughter has a comfy life. But what was the point? Did I even have a shot at making those plans happen? "Daddy!" My daughter's shout totally caught me off guard. "What's up, Nicole?" I leaned in close and whispered, "Let's play a whispering game, sweetie." My daughter smiled big and nodded yes. "Daddy, can you hear Mommy?" Her next question totally froze me. "What do you mean?" I whispered, but my voice got a bit louder while I gently hugged my daughter's shoulders. "Do you remember your mom's voice, Nicole?" "I'm not sure. I guess." My daughter smiled, and it was kind of sneaky for a 5-year-old. I'd never seen her smile like that before. It felt like she was hinting at something. "Daddy!" My daughter called out again and gave my cheek a little pat. "Nicole." "Daddy, you lost. Why are you talking so loud?" She jumped up and down, teasing me like crazy. I couldn't help but laugh. This was really my 5-year-old angel. I must have been overthinking it all. I put my finger to my lips to tell my daughter to be quiet, and she did the same. We both just cracked up. Nicole said she wanted honey butter toast for dinner that night, and I had no reason to say no. I checked the clock and saw it was already past 6 p.m., so I told my daughter to be good while I wrapped up dinner. The sky's getting dark quick today, I thought to myself. As I sliced up some bread, the news speaker's voice blared out again. "Our latest report indicates that the town of Marietta, Ohio, is facing an imminent threat from a group of dangerous creatures approaching the area." I couldn't believe it. Marietta is where I live. I cracked open the glass door and peeked outside, and it was all quiet. I gotta take care of my stomach and my daughter first. The government will figure out how to deal with those guests. Back in the kitchen, I got to work. "Raymond!" The weak call made me stop. "Raymond, can you please open the door for me?" It was my wife, Shannon. I went back to the living room, where my daughter was chilling. She looked up at me and gave me a big smile. "Dad, is that Mom's voice?" I peeked through the peephole, and there was nobody out there. "Raymond, please." Shannon's whisper was right behind me, so I quickly turned around. I caught my daughter's gaze, and she had this weird smile looking at me. I totally freaked out and ran around, yelling my daughter's name in a panic, while she was just sitting on the couch giggling at me. In a split second, thinking about that monster, I rushed over and squeezed with both hands, and Nicole's little body smacked hard into the kitchen counter. Not stopping there, I grabbed the knife and kept slashing it over and over. When I snapped back to reality, I jumped up, shocked with my hands all red. "Raymond," Shannon's weak whisper came through again. I glanced at the entrance, and then at the small, incomplete body on the floor. "Attention, people of Marietta. Please do not go outside. The army and police are on their way." Screams of panic and pain were coming from the houses around me. My head was spinning, and my ears were ringing. The monsters just showed up, and there was my daughter, the one I thought was my whole world, on the floor. Outside the door was my unfaithful wife, back to beg for my help. The dark world in my cupboard for 6 years. I was always locked in the kitchen cupboard by my parents. The first time was when I was 6 years old. I was terrified, panicking, screaming, and resisting. I'm not sure what I did wrong at that time, but I kept crying and apologizing. "I'm sorry. I ate a cookie. I'm sorry, Dad, Mom." My parents' face showed no emotion. I innocently asked them, "Why are you putting me in here?" "Well, why not?" That's a phrase that haunts me to my very core. I looked through the keyhole to catch a glimpse of the outside world. I can't remember how long I had been inside, but just as I was about to faint from exhaustion, the sound of the cupboard lock being opened echoed. My mother picked me up and placed me at the dining table. Although all I wanted at that moment was to use the restroom, I didn't dare to ask. The subsequent times I was locked in the kitchen cabinet occurred more frequently and lasted longer. I still resisted, still begged, and was filled with fear. After being released, everything went back to normal, except for being locked up. I was doing well. I was growing strong and plump, but it was only physically. A part of my soul had been worn away through those times of being locked up. The longest was 3 days when I was 7 years old. My parents locked the cupboard and went to town. By the time they returned, I felt like I was at the end of my life. Darkness, cramped space, and the smell of dampness, all of it had become incredibly familiar to me. I no longer screamed, resisted, or begged. Instead, I embraced it. I savored my own space, glancing through the keyhole to see my parents passing by occasionally. It seemed that their confinement was an attempt to make me disappear, but it only strengthened my existence even more. As my body grew, I found more comfortable positions to lie in and learned to adapt. And I realized that I enjoyed being confined. I liked the feeling of being cramped and suffocated. Once I witnessed a tense argument between my parents. They mentioned me in that argument. Mom said that because of me, she had lost many opportunities. At that time, I was already 10 years old, but I couldn't fully understand everything that was happening in that argument. But I understood that my parents didn't love me. I withdrew into myself, seeking joy in a world that was just mine. When I turned 12, my parents stopped locking me in the cupboard. I wondered, "Why don't you let me in there anymore, Mom?" "Why not?" Mom said with a gentle smile as she looked at me. I guessed it was probably because my body had grown too big for that cupboard. So I chose to lock myself in the wardrobe, under the study table, under the bed. I would crawl into all the dark, confined spaces whenever I had nothing else to do. And then I found the perfect spot, a small cupboard in my parents' room. It was half the size of a refrigerator, with a door that opened outward, located above the wardrobe. I only dared to go in there when my parents were out, timing my escape to ensure I'd be gone before they returned. One time, I fell asleep, perhaps because that secret place was just too comfortable. When I heard the sound of something breaking, I jolted awake. Peering through the crack of the door, I felt a surge of anxiety as I realized my parents had returned, but something felt off. They stood looking at each other with angry eyes. The furniture shattered on the floor, and then Dad pulled out the gun. And in a brief moment, it rendered Mom motionless on the crimson floor. Mom was staring directly at me, her eyes filled with immense pain and despair, as if she were blaming me. I wasn't sure if I could even breathe at that moment. Staying in the cupboard with my body stiff, I looked at my mother for a long time, and my father did the same, until another loud gunshot rang out, tearing through my eardrums. Dad fell down, right next to Mom. I was determined not to go outside, sitting in my own world while observing my parents' world. Until the police arrived, they found me and took me to the hospital. I remember at that time I was suffering from severe mental illness. I had completely lost all emotions towards everything around me. After 6 months in the hospital, I was taken to a children's welfare center. My life from here stepped into a new world, one filled with more emotions. I spent many years afterwards trying to escape the dark and cramped places. I even got a new name, leaving all the pain of the past behind. I always remember my parents. The last image of them is something I can never forget. That will be a memory, a sad memory, rather than an obsession within me. I can't understand why my parents treated me that way. I hope no child will ever be as unfortunate as I was back then.
I'm Dean, 28. Just got out of a 2-year relationship. My girlfriend moved out a few months ago, so now it's just me in my tiny apartment in Nashville. At first, I thought I was doing fine, but as the days went by, the loneliness just kept getting worse. The quiet walls of my apartment just made everything feel even emptier. I started to realize I wasn't as cut out for being single as I thought. So, to mix things up, I downloaded a dating app. Swiping through profiles and chatting with random people turned into my nightly routine. One day, I stumbled on Kelly's profile. She had a charming smile in her pic, and she looked younger than 30. I messaged her to get to know her, and I was surprised when Kelly replied right away. The way she texted was cool enough to keep me interested, and I thought I might have found someone interesting. We started messaging each other all the time on Tinder. At first, things were going great, but after a few days, I realized Kelly wasn't really into my stories. She'd often ask about my job, my place, and even the stuff I had at home. I didn't think much of it, figured she was just curious. With the holidays coming up, I thought it was time to meet Kelly in person. I decided to take the lead and invite her to dinner at a spot near downtown. But Kelly had a different idea. She wanted to come over to my place and decorate the Christmas tree together. The idea sounded fun, so I quickly agreed, hoping for a chill night. On the day we were meeting, Kelly showed up right on time. I opened the door and was surprised by how tall she was, pretty much the same height as me, a 6-footer. Kelly was wearing a red wool coat, and it smelled like strong perfume. But as I got closer, I noticed the scent had a hint of body odor and this weird, sharp smell that made me feel uncomfortable. I invited her in, poured us some wine, put out some cookies and fruit, and we started chatting. But Kelly didn't say much, and the conversation just went nowhere. She seemed kind of spaced out, just giving vague answers when I asked her stuff. I still kept it polite though, not wanting to ruin the date. Kelly brought up decorating the tree and took the lead in heading down to the basement with me to grab it. Kelly was pretty strong and really tall. I realized I forgot the box of decorations, so I went back to the basement to grab it. When I came back up, Kelly was gone. At first, I figured she was just in the bathroom, or maybe outside getting some fresh air. But when I checked everywhere, the living room, bathroom, front yard, backyard, and bedroom, I still couldn't find her. I texted Kelly on Tinder, but she didn't reply. I tried calling, but her phone didn't even ring. The silence was so heavy that I started to feel really uneasy. A wave of dizziness hit me, and I couldn't control my body anymore. My mind was spinning, everything got blurry, and I just passed out without even realizing it. In my daze, I saw a tall figure moving around the house. I heard stuff crashing, but I couldn't move. When I woke up, the dim light from the living room lamp took me a sec to realize I was lying on the floor. I stumbled to my feet, feeling like I had just gone through a nightmare. But when I looked around the house, I realized it wasn't a dream. Some of my stuff, like my watch, laptop, and wallet, was gone. Feeling confused and pissed, I called the police right away. At the station, I told them everything and gave them the details of what happened. But when the police asked about the person who did it, all I could give them was the name Kelly Wasson. I quickly opened Tinder, hoping for some clue, but Kelly's account was gone. The police thought Kelly Wasson probably wasn't her real name, and that she might be homeless, hooked on drugs, and stealing to get by. Hearing that, it finally clicked why Kelly's body smelled like a mix of all that. I trusted a stranger way too much after just a few texts and a quick meeting. My apartment isn't just missing valuables now, it's also colder than ever. Every time I think about it, I can't help but blame myself for being so careless. Even though the whole thing made me lose a lot, both stuff and mentally, I see it as an important lesson. Next time, I'll be way more careful and won't just trust anyone. Being single can be lonely, but sometimes it's safer than trusting the wrong person.